The Alter Rebbe in Perek Mem Vav, bottom of the page, is introducing us to a new type of love, a new motivation for love. That a Yid is loving the Eibishter, not because he's far away. Now, why would you love the Eibishter because you're far away? The Alter Rebbe is like this. This is a motivation for loving the Eibishter out of distance. Why do I love Hashem? I realize I'm such a nothing, such a tiny little person, and yet the Eibishter likes me and favors me and considers me special. I owe him such a debt of gratitude that cannot be repaid. The key is, in this Chiddush, this Perek Mem Vav and Mem Zayin and Mem Chas Mem Tes, that it turns out the opposite of before. Before, the closer you are to the Eibishter, the more you love him. Here, the further you are from the Eibishter, the more you realize how much you don't deserve what the Eibishter is giving you, the deference and favoritism he's showing you, and you should feel more indebted, more gratitude, more thankfulness to Atzmos himself, to the Eibishter. And he gave a bunch of words that a king is going and he's bringing and he's hugging and he's kissing and he says Dab Berucha Berucha, which the Rebbe explained means mitzvahs and Teda and understanding Teda. And we begin 3 lines from the bottom of page 130, that's Daf Samach Hey Amad Beis. Which says in the Siddur, Asher Kiddishanu b'mitzvahs, that he has sanctified us with his commandments. Right? Every time we make a bracha, we say Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam Asher Kiddishanu b'mitzvahs. What's the simple translation? He has made us holy with his mitzvahs. Says the Alter, what does it mean he's made us holy with this mitzvahs? So he says, Ka'adam HaMakadosh Isha, like a man who betroths, engages his wife. But of course, this doesn't mean we have now an engagement. An engagement nowadays is pretty much nothing. Even though by Chassidim Machta Kinyin, but it's all it is. Kiddishanu was in the olden days, he used to make Edison. A chassan made a kala, gave her a ring, they made a Sudas Edison, a party, went back to yeshiva, she made a chassanah, she prepared for the chassanah. 12 months later, they got married. And made a chuppah. During those 12 months, she was 100% married. And if God forbid there was tzadis and he got lost, she was aguna her whole life because she had a kiddushin, a ring. This is why they made the takana to make the chuppah and the kiddushin together. When we do now a service, you have 2 cups of wine, right? Because he gives her the ring, and then they read the ksubah to make a hefsek. Then you take a 2nd cup of wine and you reach Ava Brachas, then you have yichud, chuppah. Because they realized how many agunas never came because of the pogroms and the crusades and so forth and so on, right? But it's 2 separate yodim. One is what's called formal marriage, and what's called intimate marriage. Kiddushin is formal marriage. Chuppah is actual marriage. But what is Kiddushin? Whether or not she's living with her husband, she's 100% married. And the nimshal is a yidna 100% married to the Eibishter. Asher Kiddishanu. He betrothed us. We belong to him through mitzvahs. God, Makadosh Isha, man sanctifies his wife, betroths his wife. Maybe you could go to be unified with him with an absolute union. The Torah describes marriage as 2 people becoming one. The same is also true mamish. And to a far greater extent, top of page Samach Vav Nali and Ketz in an immeasurable way, who is Yichod Nefesh Alekith, the union, the marriage between the Jewish divine soul. That's preoccupied in the study of Torah and the performance of mitzvahs, which includes, as we discussed in Tanya Perek Lamed Zayin, Nav and Lamed Hey, and the animal soul, Voshein and their garments, Haneskodim, as described earlier in Lamed Hey and Lamed Zayin, and it becomes one, Be'erein Seiv Baruch, with infant light of the Eibishter. And the point is, we become married to the Eibishter, and once we're married to the Eibishter, we have to be loyal to him and him alone. No tzaras, not allowed to bring another husband into the situation, which is called Avodah Zarah. V'lachein him shel Shleim HaMelech alav Hashalom, which is why Shleim HaMelech. When he describes the relationship between the Eibishter and Yidden, using the analogy, the metaphor, the construct, the model of the relationship between a man and his wife, so he compares Yichud, that this marriage between the Eibishter, the Yichud Chassan of a Kala, to the union of a Chassan and a Kala, b'deveka, with an attachedness, chashek, and a longing, b'chafetz, and a desire, b'chibuk, which is hugging, which the Rebbe explained before means mitzvahs, v'nishik, and kissing, which means Teda. And this is Asher Kiddishanu, we belong to him and to nobody else. That's point number 1. That's what we say in the Siddur, Asher Kiddishanu b'mitzvahs, that he sanctified us and he made us his own through mitzvahs. She'alon, or the Eibishter lift us up. This is a different point already. He's lifted us, Lamai, Las Keidesh Aliyah Baruch Hu, to the step called Keidesh Aliyah, the holiness that's supernal. Blessed be he, which is Chachma for those who care. The holiness of the Eibishter b'chved v'yatzmai by himself. So there's already a second Taich in Keidesh. The further Asher Kiddishanu means he separated us. We belong to him and to nobody else. Through mitzvahs, we have a connection to Ein Sof, and as a byproduct, we can't have a relationship with anybody else. Number 2, he's lifted us to Madeg of Keidesh Aliyah. And number 3, Kedusha, he lashon Avdallah. The word Kedusha also denotes a separation. That Masha Kadosh Baruch Hu moved as Hashem is separated from the worlds. And this is the level of Sevev Kalaman, hidden from the world, as we're going to see later in Perek Mem Ches. Which is godliness, which is beyond revealability. And nevertheless, a Yid, when he does Torah, is Kaddish, is connected to Seiv of Kalaman. Kaidei Yichud, HaNefesh, the union of a Jewish person's soul, V'Hiskalalus, and his being included. Be'erein Seiv Baruch Hu, in the infinite light of Hashem, a.k.a. Seiv of Kalaman, Harei, emphasis. He b'malas madregas, the Jew stands in the level and the step of Kedushas Ein Seiv Baruch Hu Mamish, the holiness of the Ein Seiv Mamish, of Seiv of Kalaman, Me'achar sins, Shames Yachedes, it's unified. And included Beis Baruch and the Eibishter, Vayelach, the Mamish, and they become one Mamish. So I would propose we have 3 points. Point number 1 is Kedusha means to separate, isolate only for yourself. Point number 2, it lifts us up to Chochmah, Kedesh Elyon. And point number 3, the Madrega of Havdalah, which is Seiv of Kalaman, perhaps higher than Chochmah. And when a Yid does mitzvahs, you and I don't feel it. But when a Yid does mitzvahs, he's not a little bit different than a Goy, or a lot different than a Goy. He's above the whole Seder Shtachlis. Anytime a Yid does a mitzvah, he's connected to Atzmas in a way that's impossible to fathom how unique and how different he is. You walk in the street, stand on a bus, you're saying Tanya and the guy's reading a paper. Or you're saying Tanya and the guy's reading Tanya, but you're a mitzvah voice. Through your mitzvah, you're higher than the highest Eilemis, till Seiv of Kalaman. And that's the Kedusha, that's the uniqueness of a Yid. And this is the debt of gratitude we owe Atzmos. When we think that in spite of who we are, and we know pretty good what we are, He shows us this favoritism, this completely undeserved special treatment, we can't possibly repay it. Says in the pasuk, you will be holy to me. I am holy, and therefore you will be holy. And that's point number 1. I've separated you from the nations, to be mine. Which means a second point. First of all, we're holy. Second of all, we have to be distinct, separate. The amen in the second pasuk, is called mitzvah. When you do all of my mitzvahs, and as a result, you become sanctified and holy for the Eibush, that again with Eibush is our God. Pirush, this means to say as follows. We do mitzvahs, so we become Kaddish. Kaddish means we're married to Hashem and to nobody else. Kaddish means we have a connection to Chachmei law. Kaddish means we have a connection to Seiv of Kalaman. But it means something else as well. You know what that is? That we become singled out. If you will, if you need to dafka split hairs, we'll call it a fourth inyan. And what is it? When you does mitzvahs, Hashem becomes our personal God. Just like it says in the pasuk, the God of Abraham, the God of Yitzchak, and so forth. Why do we call Hashem the personal God of Avraham, the personal God of Yitzchak? Because they gave themselves away to Hashem like chariots, and nullified, and included Be'edi in his life. The same is to each one of us. During Eisek HaTeira Mitzvahs, when we're preoccupied in Teira and Mitzvahs, we become Hashem's personal people, and He becomes our personal God. Think about this. Could you imagine just President Bush going over to some stranger in the state of Delaware or Montana or Wyoming and saying, you know what, from now on, you're my personal friend. And he calls him on the phone every day and he chats with him. It's unlikely, but clearly there's something very, very unique about it. Now think about the Eibishter. Elekei Avram. Hashem is the God of everything. Yet somehow he calls himself Mogen Avraham, Mogen David. Okay, special relationship with individual people because they earned it. This is all part of the Asher Kedeshanu. He's made us His own through the marriage with His wife. He's lifted us up the Madrega of Chachma through Yiddishkeit. He lifted us up the Madrega of Seiv Kalaman through Yiddishkeit. And we become so special that Hashem becomes our personal God because we're doing what the Eibishter did once. Like the Ovis, since they were Merkava to the Eibishter, it says, Elokei Avraham, the same can happen to every single Jew. This can happen to every single Jew while preoccupied with studying Torah and doing mitzvahs. And he brings, the Gemara says, that the chi of law to stand up and to remain standing. For any person doing mitzvahs, even if he's empty. And a man of the earth, a common person. When he does mitzvahs, you have to honor him. Because it's not him that you're honoring, but why are you getting up for him? Because you're honoring the godliness which manifests and is revealed in his soul. That's it. So when a Yid does a mitzvah, he becomes uniquely connected to the Eibishter. He becomes Kaddish, he becomes Chachma, he becomes Ein Sof, and he becomes personally and individually connected to Atzmas Ein Sof. Says the Rebbe Rak. It's a big Rak. It's a big major Rak. And the rak is that we don't feel it. And the next few lines are hachana to tomorrow's shir, which I think I've convinced Nisanel to show up to. Rak, the point is as follows. We don't feel. When a Yid does a mitzvah, he's lifted up the Seiv of Kalaman, Hashem becomes a Elokei Nisanel, Elokei Menachem Mendel, Elokei Chaim, when you do a mitzvah, they don't feel it. Why? Because of the curtain of the crude, physical nature, which has not yet been refined and sensitized. And as a consequence of machshach and nefesh, it blackens the eyes of the spirit from seeing the vision of God. It's like the others, in fact, saw the Eibush to Ben and similar people. That says in Gemara, they in fact saw godliness during their lifetime. I think this was mentioned Sof Perek Mem, but I could be wrong. But you or I, no, I don't know where it was mentioned. You or I don't experience this. But says the Alter Rebbe, don't think that because you're not experiencing godliness, it's not true. When a Yid is learning Torah and doing mitzvahs, he's one with Atzmas Ein Sof. Like Avraham Mitzvah Yankiv. So how many points did he mention about Kedusha? We belong to Hashem and to nobody else. We lift it up to Chochmei Allah. We lift it up to Kesed. And Hashem becomes our personal God. We become His personal favorites, which is pretty awesome.